Hey y'all, welcome to Candid Conversations with Carla. Well, today we are going to be talking about how God stripped me of my pride. Now, I'm not talking about anyone else, I'm talking about Carla personally. Um, I just kind of wanted to break down exactly what is pride. Now, according to AI, pride is presented as a sin, often associated with arrogance, self importance, and taking credit for God's work. It is contrasted with humility, which is valued as a virtue, leading to honor and wisdom. I also wanted to highlight the scripture, Proverbs 16, verse 18. Pride goes before destruction, and a haughty spirit before a fall. Sometimes we have our own perceptions about how things may look, or we may not even know that we're dealing with a certain thing, right? I never thought that I would fall into pride, and because my perception of pride was, someone who was arrogant or someone who felt like they were better than anyone else. My pride presented itself as, I didn't know how to accept help from anyone. I didn't know how to humble myself enough to reach out and tell people, hey, I'm struggling or I'm dealing with something, because I was always the go to person. And as we saw in the example here, sometimes we take God's credit, you know. We act as gods. Like I thought I was, because I thought I was the go to person, I did not want to appear to be in need, like ever. Now, this, of course, was 10 years ago. But I found myself in a predicament where I was struggling financially, but not just financially, I was struggling spiritually. I knew I needed to reach out to people, but I didn't. And inwardly, I was praying to God, asking Him, to help me. And you guys, I was so in a need that I asked Him not just to renew me, but I wanted Him to start me from scratch. Now, in hindsight, I didn't really understand what that really meant. But sometimes God will even allow us, or even allow something in our spirit, a yearning in our spirit for Him, truly Him. And boy, did He start me from scratch. When I tell you that anything and everything that could happen, it did happen. And I didn't realize it, but I was about to embark on a 3-year trial. And the start of that trial was because I had forgotten about the prayer. Okay, we can we can get into God's presence and then not even and forget what we even prayed for. Well, the first thing that happened was I was actually living. I was actually renting a place out of a room out of someone's house at the time, and I had an accident in my car. Did not realize the full coverage insurance had lapsed. I had totaled my car, so I didn't have a car. I didn't even have the money for a car because this was all unexpected, which forced me to, because I was kind of living in the country at the time, and I needed to be able to get to and from work. So I began to live with someone, and just I had never even really live with someone. I had never really depended on someone like ever, for anything. So all of this was very, very new to me. I felt me losing control. And that was what I was big on. I was big on controlling. I was big on I was big on, having a plan A, B, C. And if I didn't have a plan A, B, C, I was going to refer to X, Y, Z. But how many of you guys know that we can't control God, right? And once again, I forgot about this prayer that I prayed. The next several months rolled by, and my mother was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer. And then 2 weeks after that, I was let go of my job. And all of this happened probably within 6 months. When I was let go of my job, I felt the Lord leading me to move out. He wanted me to move out of this woman's house and to move into my own place. Well, I just thought that was absolutely crazy because, wait a minute, I just knew that was the enemy talking, because I was just like, you want me to move out of her house now that I don't have a job? My faith wasn't there. I just, and, but I started looking for a place. And when I started looking for a place, I found a place, and not only that, but my unemployment was it was approved for the exact amount that I needed to move into this place. And when I moved into this place, I remember that I could hear God clearer than ever. It was like I began to it was the closest that I had ever been to God, because I didn't know from one moment to the next, what was going to happen. I had to depend on God for everything. And, we know God as the provider, right? We may know him as provider of our jobs or provider of all of our needs, right? But I had never depended on him for food to eat, for shelter, for looking to him for everything, right? God literally, our provider, of our necessities, because I just believed in the God of, the provider of my job, that where I could buy my necessities, right? So this was a different dependence. And it was like when I was in this place, I remember things that I used to say, and I used to say things like, I got this. And I had adopted that saying because, when I first had Malachi as a single parent, you know, I didn't want anyone to pity me because I got this. And when I was thinking about that, I was talking about my own ability. But he desires for us to depend on him for everything. And this will keep us out of pride. Because when we can't make it happen, which we can't make any, there's nothing that we can do in and of our own selves unless God allows it to be. And that's why we have to acknowledge him in all of our ways. If we're able to do it, it's because he's allowed it. And so I began to I cringed when I heard those words playing back in my head. I got this. And I remember repenting to God and letting him know that, wow, God, I didn't know any better. Forgive me. Because I really didn't. I was Miss Independent. And God began to show me that even that mentality, that Miss Independent mentality, was wrong. It was the world's view. God desires for us to depend on him. And even as women, I know, we like to feel like we have it all together. And that's fine as long as you don't enter into pride. Because anything that he has allowed us to do, it is because he has caused us to triumph. And sometimes we find ourselves in these situations where we are single parents, right? But God is the head of the household. And so uh, while he was stripping me of me, I found myself repenting because I really didn't even, sometimes you got to be brought to the low place in order to get to see where you really are. And that's what was happening with me. And I'm going to tell you something. So I had lost my car. And y'all, it wasn't the people. It wasn't the spirit. I was heavy into ministry. I was preaching, teaching. I was doing some of everything. But let me tell you something. It wasn't the spiritual people that were picking me up for church. It was my enemies picking me up. And you know what? I couldn't I couldn't tell them that, hey, I know you're talking to me, talking about me behind my back. I know that you're, otherwise I just wasn't going to get a ride. I wasn't going to get some help. So I learned how to shut my mouth. I learned how to hold my peace. And before I knew it, I realized that it wasn't even worth it anyway. It never was. We never have to come to our own defense. But see, when you have pride and when you feel like, you know, they're talking about me, it's all about you, right? It's not about us. It's not about us. And we have to realize that it's all about him. And then when we draw the attention to him, our ego won't be in the way. Our pride won't be in the way. Because we direct all attention to Christ. And I just want you guys to know that, you know, I sat in that thing for about 3 years. And God really stripped me of Carla, you know. And once again, things don't always have to look like what you think it should, you know. And what I mean by that is, you know, you may not know what you're dealing with. I had no idea. Pride. Carla, deal with pride? I don't think I'm bigger than anyone else. But it wasn't that. I thought I was too big enough to be helped. And that's a dangerous place. And I had to come to that point where God helped me with me. And you might be dealing with something different. You know, whatever it is that's holding you back from God truly and fully using you, surrender it to him. Talk to him about it. I'm not saying go to your prayer partner. Like, prayer partners are good, your groups are good, but I'm talking about really when no one else is around. Surrender whatever it is that's holding you back and watch God move. Watch him change. Watch him come in and give you peace. I mean, real peace. I remember as I began to go through, because that wasn't even the end. I ended up losing my mom exactly 1 year from the date that she was diagnosed with cancer. And the day that I buried my mom, I had an eviction notice on my door. And they knew what was going on. And we'll talk about, you know, any one of those if you want to, because each one had their own miraculous story and how God just really worked it out. But for the sake of this video, I just want you guys to know that God really stripped me and he helped me. He helped me. He helped Carla come out of pride. He stripped me of pride. And I'm so grateful because now I can go forth, in the things of God. Sometimes we don't realize we have hindrances in our lives, but God is able to heal and deliver you at any place. It doesn't have to be in a church. It can be right there in your living room. It can be right there in your bedroom. But when we're talking about candid conversations with Carla, I want to tell some of my testimonies because I have gone through a lot, and God has really, really changed me. And He is continuously changing me. We haven't arrived, and we won't until we go to heaven. So I just want to give you a piece of my testimony, and I hope this has helped someone. And I really will be praying for you all in any area of opportunity, and I know that God will come see about you. Well, till next time, I will see you at 7:30 on Candid Conversations with Carla next Tuesday.